welcome to my channel. In this video, I will share with you a very nice bag recipe from a famous brand, which I prepared with spaghetti yarn paper thread. I want us to share our bag and model closely with you. Look at a very elegant example. It matches exactly with the original. I want to show the base. Its base is an oval base. I will share this with you again in all its details. You can use this base not only for this bag, but also for other bags. Let's look at the handle detail. It was very nice. Let's see inside me right now. Would you really look? It was a very neat and beautiful bag. The model is amazing. It was a very suitable work for daily use in summer. You can find how much rope I used, the details of the rope, the size of our bag, and the construction process step by step in the video. I hope it will be a useful content. Before moving on to our detailed recipe, I would like to make a small request from you. I would be really happy if you could subscribe to our channel for free, like the video, and leave your comments. Let's move on to our recipe. I used 3 Fridays of spaghetti half paper yarn from my bag. I want to share the feature of the rope with you right away. Mixed 100% paper weight in the range of 130-150 grams, 250 meters long. Look, you see the color and texture I used. The knitting is quite soft. I can say that it is the easiest knitting pattern I have ever knitted. By the way, I would like to share a nice discount news from Spaghetti, especially for my subscribers. You can complete your shopping with a 10% discount with the Gulcan10 code, which you can use for purchases of 100 TL or more from spaghettia.com. I would like to thank Spaghettia's family very much for this nice discount. Look at our bag. We are starting to knit our base. Here we will prepare an oval base. It was really neat and beautiful. I recommend you try this recipe, especially on oval bases. First, I will give our measurements. Then I will share the numbers with you. Look, the size of our base is 37 centimeters. The point of the oval base with single crochet. 37 centimeters tall, 11 centimeters wide. This is the size of our base. Now I will tell you how many chains I started with. Here I started with 45 chains. How did I determine this? Here our model consists of multiples of 4. In fact, the model is a model consisting of multiples of 5. But in the original of the bag, the base was not very visible. That's why I determined it, because it was a little bit at the bottom. We build our model in the form of multiples of 4 by reducing the model by 1. This actually gives a little width to the base. It looks nice. Since we will build our model in multiples of 4, we need to start in the form of multiples of 4 in the chain we will draw. I knitted. It's a very, very easy base. So we are actually making a classic round base, but there are a few tricks that we pay attention to by making increases only on this edge and on this edge. In this way, we can obtain beautiful, uniform oval bases. But here I used a different technique this time. I will be sharing this with you again. Now I knitted my bag and prepared it beforehand. I completed my model. To make it easier for you, I will be describing my model with cotton macrame yarn, and you can see how we change both the numbers by keeping them smaller. By the way, when working with paper thread, my crochet number was 3 millimeters. You can determine your own crochet number according to the thinness and thickness of your own yarn, the density and looseness of your knitting. Now the crochet number I will use here will be 3.5 millimeters. And I will be describing our model with cotton macrame thread. We will immediately start working with the chain. Look, I drew 45 chains in total. I will now prepare my chains in the form of a multiple of 4 for this big bag of mine. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. In this way, as many as you want. You can pull your chain. After pulling the multiples of 4, that is, after pulling our chain in the form of 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus, we also need to draw a chain for the return. Now at this point, we reverse our chain. Look, this point is important. Look, there's no space here. There are no holes or anything here. The reason we got it like this is because we are using the backdashed lines of the chain. Now leave the last chain here and draw the backdashed line of another chain. Look at these points. We already use this very often, but it is useful to show it in detail for those who are starting for the first time. We leave the last chain and sink into the back cut line of another chain. We made a loop. We have 2 loops. We are filling up. Squeeze needle through both of them. Another stitch. Dip into the back cut line of the chain and knit again. Pin 1 needle into another and repeat again. Let's now proceed to the end of the row. Here we come to our last chain. Now we are sinking into the back cut line of this last chain. We knitted one single needle. I'm putting this short rope in between. Look inside the same chain again. Insert the second single needle into the same chain. Look, we've gone this way. Now at this stage, I want to dive into the same chain again and hide the short rope. We knit the same chain and knit our third single needle. We got 1 to 2, 3 single crochets for the return. Look, we will fix the short rope by hiding it here. Now look, we have moved on to the bottom parts of the single needles and the opposite chain part. This time the chains look like spikes. Look like this on our crochet hook. We will proceed in this way by making one needle at each of these points until the last chain. Look, I will sink each of them once, just as we did in the classic oval base. We will knit 3 single needles in the last chain, 1 single needle in the others, and come to the last chain. Here is an important tip. Look, we have come to the end of our row. Here is the first single crochet we started with, and our last chain is the first single crochet we started with. Now we will knit 3 single crochets without seeing the chain we started with. That is, 3 single crochets in the last chain here, 2. Now the third single needle while knitting the first single crochet. The single needle we knitted will disappear under the third single needle, and we will have destroyed the first single needle we knitted. This place is important. Now come back to the same point and look 3. We knit the single needle over the first single needle, and at this point it is necessary to use a safety pin. Look now, in the first row we eliminated the second single needle, the first single needle. 2. The body of the single crochet like this. Look, I'm attaching my safety pin to the body like this. This is where my ending and beginning will be. What did we do now? We knitted 3 single crochet stitches on this side, just like on this side. What will we do now? We made the increase. We start the second row. Look, this is the single crochet point where we will start the second row. We knit directly in a spiral. Look, we stitch the second single needle and started a new row. We will now proceed by knitting one of each. We will knit 1 single needle by inserting it into the top space of each single needle, until the point where there are a couple of double crochets here. Look, we've come to the point where the triple crochet is here. 1, 2, 3, 3 single crochet in the same spot. We will knit 2 single crochet stitches into the first of the triple crochet stitch, so we will knit in pairs. What does double mean? That means 2 single needles in the same hole. Look, I knitted my first pair. I'm knitting my second pair, so 2 single needles in the same hole. Now we knit 2 single crochets again on the third single crochet, so we knit in pairs, double into the same space again. Now we have 3 points to increase, so we have 1, 2, 3 double points. These 3 points will always remain constant. In the next row, the odd numbers will increase. You will see this more easily when we do it now. Now we have knitted 3 pairs. We knit the others by single knitting. Look, what does 1 single needle mean? 1 single needle in one hole means single needles. Let's continue with the single needles. Look at the triple point here. We have come to the end of our row. We are at the point where the triple single needle is. We knit double with the first one. On this side, we got double, 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 triple, double. Look, the soles are quite regular this way. Now we will continue single knitting. We are starting a new row. Look, our new single needle. So we attach the safety pin, the first single needle of the new glaze. We can easily understand where we end and start from this point right at the top. But if you want to mix it up, you can move the safety pins up in any row. Now we start the new row, directly with single crochet. Now look at each of them. They are moving single. We will knit our single needles by sinking until we see the first pair. Look, we have come to the point where the first pair is. There are 2 single needles visible here in the same hole. Now we knit a double for the first one. 1, 2, we knit a single needle for the next one. So a single even, a single right away. The second pair comes to the first, again, double again, in the same space, second single needle, 1 to the other, our third pair to the first, again 2, 1, 2, 1 to the other. Look, We have preserved 3 double points. Singles came in between. Now the base will grow like this. A couple, a single. Next row 2 odd, 1 even. Next row 3 odd, 1 even. In other words, the number of singles will increase 1 by 1 in each row. It's exactly the same logic as we did on the same round base. What is the only trick we should pay attention to here? We will try not to overlap the double needles. We will knit by changing their places, just like we did with the round base. Now we continue with the singles. Look, we will proceed by knitting 1 by 1 for each, until the trio. Look up to the point where the couple is. When we see the first couple, now there is no need to explain this part. Whatever we did here is exactly the same on this side. I will be sharing again the process we did here. We finished our row by moving forward. We completed our row with a single. We finished with a double and a single. Now we are moving on to the row again. Look, the first single crochet of the row is quite obvious. Now we will move forward by knitting 1 single crochet for each of them until we see the first double. Look at the double crochet. We have come to this point. We will make increases here, but what will I do? If I bring the pair to this point, the corners will start. That's why I want to knit the double crochet on that single crochet and knit the other single. So what do we do in the meantime? 2 odd and 1 even row is our row, the point where we will increase the number 1 row. Now when I see this pair, I knit 1 for the first and another for the second. I also knit double on single crochet, so I'm knitting 2 single crochets. So I made 2 odd and 1 pair. I saw the couple. Immediately make 1 single crochet into the first one and 1 single crochet into the second one. We knit our double stitch on the third point. Look at the same space again, second single crochet. So 2 odd is a pair, 2 odd is a pair. Now we are knitting 2 single stitches. Look, I want to show it like this. When we do this, what a neat oval we obtain. Look, this is important. So the trick here is actually very easy. 3 boost points always remain constant. Odd numbers increase 1 by 1 in each row. The only parts we will pay attention to are the double points. So it is important to get a nice oval base by shifting it a little bit and playing like this. It is also important to do this in a balanced way. Now look, I will proceed by sinking the others 1 by 1. By applying the same process on this edge as I did here, we will be together right at the end of the row. Look, we applied the process we did on this edge here as well. We sank double to the last point. We finish the row with 2 odd and 1 pair, and we start the row again. The new sequence always proceeds in the same way. We always continue with odd stitches until we get to this point of increasing. Let's share with you exactly what process we are doing here. Look, we have knitted our single stitches and reached the edge here. Now I see the point where the double stitch is on the bottom row. Look, I have a double stitch here. Before the double stitch, we knitted 2 single crochets, that is 2 single crochets. We had made a single pair. This is the next row. Now we will start with a double, make 3 singles and make a double. Look, I'm coming right away to this first point. I knitted 2 singles, I'm double sinking to the first point. 3 single, look, we have changed their places like this. This point is a double. Look, double point, 1 here, 1 in this part, and 1 at this point. Now the others will continue alone. Look, we knitted our couple last time. Look at the other parts. By going single, we pass the point where there are evens. Again, with singles. Again, look, with 3 singles, we complete each one with a single dip. Now, when you look at it this way, it may seem like there should be a pair here, but it is not. We have 1, 2, 3 pairs. This will always remain constant. This number will not increase. If you increase this, that is, if you add it to a 4th pair, your base will be distorted. Or if you make less, there will be distortions again. It will either become introverted or fluctuate excessively. It is important to pay attention to this now. Look, we will continue. What did I do here? I will repeat the exact same process here and continue with singles at the end of the row. Then I want the action I will do so that I can show this row as well. Afterwards, I share with you the numbers and shifts here exactly as I worked here. Look, we'll finish the new row here at this point. We will do the same process here. Let's get to this point by knitting singles. Let's share our knitting with you again here. Look, as we have described to you, we continued the process we did on this edge by knitting one by one, by applying the same procedures in the section here. We started a new row and proceeded by knitting our reaction until we saw the pair. Now we saw the pair here. I want the pair. Look, it is piled up this way. I will move it forward a little. For this, I immediately knit one on the first of the pair and one on the second. I knit a pair on the third point. 1, 2. Now we made 3 odd and 1 pair in the bottom row. Now in this row there will be 4 again. After knitting double, we will count 4 odd. 1, 2, 3 and 4. After knitting 4 single stitches, the next point will be even. So 2 single crochets. We'll do 4 singles again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. After we knit 1 single stitch, another one will be double. Now what's the big deal here? Did we knit 3 pairs? First pair, second pair, third pair? Look, there are 4 of us in between. The important thing was to shift the double dots here, not to get hung up on the starting number here. Now the edges are moving as 1. We will continue as 1. Look, I'm sinking to a new point. Here, by knitting the others one by one, we get a smooth oval base. I knitted exactly the same with paper thread. Sometimes it is said that I wish you had knitted the big bag. We didn't understand that either, but only the number of chains is different here. So instead of starting with 45 chains, I started with a lower number of chains. Multiples of 4 are here. I started with just 45 chains and knitted a longer piece. The numbers here are exactly the same. Once you understand the logic, big bag or small bag does not make much difference. For example, if you want to use this bag in smaller or larger sizes, you should be able to easily determine the number of chains yourself. So, after understanding the logic, you should be able to adjust the dimensions according to your needs. Why is this important? Even if we use the same yarn and the same crochet number, your measurement may be a little less or a little more than the measurements I gave. If you ask how little can be too much, it may change at least 2-3 centimeter or even 5 centimeter to 10 centimeter. This is a very important tip. That's why it's more important to have your own measure. I'm already saying this in number logic and fitting logic. We prepare our chains in multiples of 4, plus for a spin. And then what do we do here? Look here. I continued until there were 8 rows, so that the even parts do not coincide with my base. I have shared the steps I did with you. We are making a classical increase. In the next row, 3 odd, 1 pair. Next row, 4 odd, 1 pair. Next row, 5 odd, 6, 7, 8. It will continue to increase one by one. Here, we will pay attention to the pairs that will not overlap in the form of a back and forth by shifting them, keeping all 3 pairs in an oval shape. We will have obtained the base. Now we apply the same process here as we did on this edge, because what have we done? Since we destroyed the first single needle at the bottom, it was exactly the same on the opposite side. Look, it's about balance. We continue to knit our base by doing the same operations here as we did here. Now I will tell you an important tip here. Now I prepared our base as 8 rows. The reason I knitted 8 rows now is that I could have knitted 7 rows, but it didn't work. From where? Because when we knit our base here and complete 8 rows, if you are doing the same numbers as me, you will see this too. If you started with 45 chains and knitted your base 8 rows, the number of single crochets you obtained in the last row will be multiples of 4, so you will get your number as 4 plus 4 plus. This is the number we need to build the model, but if you knit 7 rows, your single needles will be missing. It is also worth mentioning this, so the number of rows is also important. what will you do? Here you can also adjust the number of rows according to your needs. It doesn't have to be 8 rows. You can knit 2 more rows. You can do more. You can also do less. But the important thing is no matter how many rows you do. Look, don't worry about the number of rows. The important thing is that we will obtain the sample. You may have made a mistake. While knitting 1-2 rows, you may have knitted incomplete single crochet. You may have knitted needles too tightly. These numbers are the last ones, so we need to count the number of single needles when we build the model. How many numbers did we have? If our number is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus, for example, 1 is missing. It arrived with 2 missing single needles. We can tolerate it by making increases in between, so we can complete it later. The last row is when we will make single crochet. Now what should we do? I want us to complete this row on this side like this. I will count my single needles. When there are multiples of 4, we will now move on to building our model. So, there is no need to explain all 8 rows here. Look, let me scroll and even hold it like this. Maybe some people want to take screenshots to see where I have increased. Look, it seems quite clear and distinct. Now let's complete it as we described it this way. Let's move on to the installation of the model. Look, I counted my single needles here. My numbers are placed as multiples of 4. Look, I achieved this in the 6th place. So I knitted 6 rows in this base. So there is a high probability that the number will not sit on a single row base. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the numbers matched exactly. In my piece here, the number matches exactly in the 8th row. As I said, I am sharing the numbers of this big bag with you step by step. Look, we started with 45 chains, so we get 44 single crochets in one return chain. While making increments as well as increments, we must obtain an even number in the base so that we can fully establish our model here. I hope it was understandable. As I said, if 1 or 2 single crochets are missing, I have just told you what to do. Now we can start setting up our model. Look, I have to knit after the double point here. I have finished the row, but look, this is the point where I will start, so I need to knit 2 single crochets here. 1, 2. Let's remember 2. We had knitted single crochet and knitted our double crochet. Now why is the point where the safety pin is important, so that the base is not missing here, so that a perfectly uniform image is created. See that the number is perfect. Here is the last single crochet. So this is the first single needle we started with. This is why I'm going to sink. Last single needle. At this point there are 2 open single crochets left. I knitted this and knitted 2 single crochets after the double crochet and completed my row. Here we will now set up the model. What did I do at this stage? After knitting the sole, I turned it inside out and ironed the sole with a strong steam iron. My advice to you too. In this type of work, when knitting the base with paper thread, in the based works, after knitting the base, be sure to iron the base, then let's move on to knitting the model, that is the wool part, because after knitting the wool, it is not possible to iron the base properly, especially on such a base. It is also useful to point out that now I continue with the first single needle. Now we will make scrolls first. Am I dipping at the top of the single crochet, removing the loop and slipping? Then we start from this first single crochet. Look, I go up by pulling 1, 2, 3 chains. Now I set up my model and fill it. We will knit 5 single crochets into the same space. We will accept a handrail in these 3 chains. We will knit 5 handrails. I sink into the same space. I took out the stitch. Since I wrapped it, I have 3 stitches. I fill it again. I wrap them together again. I created a double handrail by knitting them together. I fill them in the same gap. Now we will have knitted 5 double handrails with the chain, 2, 4, and the 5th. This is trabzon. I have never shaken my hand like this while knitting the handrails here. I have knitted it. Now there is no chain in between. Look, we fill it directly to the beginning of the crochet and start counting from the bottom. We leave 1, 2, 3 spaces, sink into the 4th space, and knit a double crochet in this space again. Look, 5 again, this double crochet in the same space. At this stage, if you think I am knitting too fast, you can slow down the video. Or, on the contrary, you can watch it at a faster speed. Now we knit our 5 handrails into the same single needle, 2, 4, and 5. Look, we will knit our 5-piece handrail like this. There are no chains in between. We are filling up. We leave 1, 2, 3 spaces and sink into the 4th space and weave 5 double handrails into this space. Look, let's set up the first row like this and come to the end of the row. Let's share another row with you. Look, we have completed the first row of our model. I would also like to tell you the number of models here. There are 33 models in total here. We set up 33 models in my big bag. Now we will merge here. Look, our model continues from one direction to the other. I want to show it like this. Look, it's knitted in reverse. We also knit in plain stitch. The model is being worked on. Now, after knitting 5 handrails, we have 2 or 3 or 4 gaps left in between. I select this stitch, I turn my knitting, look here, I sink to the top of the first handrail. Without touching the chain of the first model, I sink to the first handrail and take this stitch to the end of the crochet hook. Do I pass the stitch from this point or what? After doing this, I separate the first handrail of the last model I knitted. Look, in the wide gap between the first and second handrail. Let's tighten it up like this. I dip, take off the loop and scroll. Look, we've gone this way. I want to show it like this again. Let it be fully understood. Now we have knitted the last banister. Look, the model is finished. Now the point where we will sink is not sinking to this chained point. Since we will be shifting, the shifting creates the headspace of the chain. We will sink to the top of the first handrail in reverse. I am translating. I just click on the top of the first railing and sink like this. I put this stitch on the tip of my hook. From here I pass my rope through the point where I sink. Then look, we have 5 handrail points in reverse. We will knit towards this side. We will knit in reverse. I'm immediately separating the first railing from the second railing. Look, I sink into this gap, we sink into the wide gap, remove the loop and slide it from our other stitch. Now we go up with 3 chains. 2, 3. We wrap 1 handrail around the head of our crochet hook and slide it into the gap between these handrails. We knit 1 handrail here. 4 handrails remain here. We knit 5 handrails into this gap, along with the chain at the beginning. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Look, the pattern was formed immediately. We are filling up. There are no chains. In this study, we will knit only handrails. There are no chains. We fill directly. Look, we worked on the 5-piece handrail group here. Now we move on to the second model. I immediately separate the second 5-piece handrail from the first handrail. There are 5 handrails here. I separate the first handrail that we see from the opposite side, and the 4 handrails stay on this side. I sink into this wide gap between the first handrail and the other handrails. I knit 5 double handrails in this gap, so I'm repeating the first pattern row. In fact, we will sink into the wide gaps between the handrails, not the single needles anymore. When we adjust the numbers to leave 1 on the right and 4 on the left, the model appears automatically. Look, we knitted 2, 4, 5 handrails and filled them. We immediately came to another model. We open 1 handrail with our hands. Look, we leave 1 handrail on the right and look for 4 of them on the left, sinking into the wide gap and this. We weave 5 double handrails into the gap. 2, 3, 4, 5. Another model. I separate 1 handrail. I sink into the wide gap of the handrail I have reserved and knit 5 double handrails again. The pattern becomes more visible when working with paper string. It wasn't bad with the macro rope either. You can also do this work with macro rope. Look, I'm knitting in reverse now. Since my bag is not too hollow yet, you can easily turn it and knit like this. Now let's knit in reverse and come to the end of the row. Let us immediately share with you the beginning of the new row. Look, we have completed the second row of our model. We knitted 5 handrails in the final model. I stretch the stitch and turn my knitting into a straight section. Look, we will continue on the straight part. Now we are going to combine the model here. What am I doing for this? I am not using the chain point. I find the top of the handrail that comes right after the chain. I take the loop and pass it through this gap. Look, since we will be knitting towards this side here, I am separating the first handrail of the model right here. Look, after shifting it as if we were knitting the same model, let's sink into this gap and slide it. We are doing this, that is, we are moving the stitch here, then we are going up with 123 chains. Look, it is quite a magnificent ending and beginning, you cannot tell at all. After 3 chains, look at the same space again. We are knitting 5 double handrails, one of which is the same as the model. If you make 5 45 chains with 3 chains, it may be too much. Yes, I'm filling it now. Look, I've completed the model here. Now I'm moving on to the second model. I'm leaving the 4 trabzons here. Look, I'm immediately separating one of the 5 trabzons, one on the right, the others on the left. I sink into the wide gap and knit 5 double handrails. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are good. See, this is how the example was created. Let's do it one more time. I'm filling up. I immediately come to the point where the next 5 handrails are and separate the first one with my hand. I sink directly into this gap and knit my 5 double handrails. A very easy example. Also, since it is created with handrails, the model is finished very quickly, so it's not a bag that will keep you busy. The base was really smooth. I definitely recommend you to try this recipe. You don't have to make this bag with a knitting base like this. You can also apply it to the ready base. The only thing we will pay attention to here is to obtain the number of single crochets in multiples of 4. Now look, we created the model like this. Then we will continue in reverse again. I want to show it like this. We shared with you how we did it in the reverse part. How many rows did I knit? I knitted 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 rows. The original bag was 18 rows. If I remember correctly, the bags in the stores are knitted very loosely. The number of rows is less, but the inches they get are the same as this bag of mine. I think this is due to being knitted too loosely, because the rope made is exactly the same. I also achieved this measurement in 22 rows. This is an important tip. So the same yarn can be used, but knitting density and looseness are so important, so I had to do 2 more rows. That's why I'm sharing these numbers with you, as well as the numbers and row numbers of the bag and the big bag here. I am trying to explain the logic in this small example. So after understanding the logic, the main purpose here is to shoot this video, and this is the purpose. Once you understand the logic, you should be able to play with numbers as you wish. You can prepare your bags in any size you want. After knitting 22 rows, look, we have points for knitting single needles here. We will knit single needles after the banisters. After 3 rows of single crochet and single crochet, we made our direct finish. I want, for example, to finish my model in reverse order, because it was the size I wanted. While knitting the purl side, I made the finishing and then knitted my single needles from the straight row in 3 rows, and look at the base like this, we have achieved a nice harmony. Now how do we pass this part? How do we knit 3 rows of single needles? I want to share this with you right away. Before sharing, let's give the width and length measurement of this bag. Look, I will measure from the plate to the base after the single crochet, the length we set up our model, up to the single crochet, excluding the base, this is 36 centimeters. The width of our bag is like this. When we close it at home, it is 43 centimeters, 42, 43 centimeters. We measure like this. Now, in the example where I am working on this macrame, how do I cross the single crochets? Let's share now. I will not knit another row of the model here. Look, I finished this bag inside out. I want to show it exactly the same way. After knitting the purl row, that is, after knitting 22 rows, I will finish my work. What did we do by knitting 3 rows of single crochet? Look at the first handrail without touching the chain. I am sinking at the top of the first handrail of the next model. I take the stitch here on the tip of my hook and pass it through here. Now I will sink into this gap. Again, think of the same model as working. I'm sinking into the void right now. I do my direct scroll. I go up a chain and come into this space. I'm knitting 1 single crochet again. Now we will do the single crochet row. Then I separate it. Look, 4 handrails are left here. I'm taking this banister apart. We will immediately knit the wide spaces between the banisters. That is the spaces where we are working on the model. There will be 4 single crochet stitches in each model. Look, I'm separating SC to next point. I'm taking it apart again. Squeeze needle. There will be 4 single crochet stitches in each model. There are no single needles in the intermediate passage. We see 5 handrails. Immediately separate the first handrail and insert a needle into the gap like this. Separate another one again and single needle into the gap. By sinking into these intermediate spaces, we will obtain 4 single needles in each model. Also, when the model rises up on the wall, it opens slightly like this. When we do this, when we knit 4 single crochets on each model, the model gathers a click at the mouth. Knit 3 rows of single crochet look like this, then we will come to the end of the row and make our shift. We will knit from the straight side. We don't knit in reverse anymore. Look like this. 4 single crochet needles in each model, inserting them into the gaps between the handrails. Look, there are no single needles these days. By sinking directly into the gaps between the handrails, we will obtain 4 single needles in each model. See it this way. Then, when we come to the end of the row, we will shift and go up with a chain and complete the number of single crochets in the rows we have knitted to 3 rows. I want to show it like this once again. Look, we have finished the wall section in 1, 2, 3, 3 rows. This was our measurement. What did I do now? After finishing the wall part, look at the inside from the inside, not from the flat part, but from the inside. After you have completely covered the wall with a steam iron, let's not do this. This place is very important. For example, you wanted to iron the model on which you knitted the wall part like this. Do not do this. If you do this, there will be a cut in the knitting, so there is a difference in ironing. That's why, after completing the wall completely, I completed my bag by ironing it strongly with a steam iron from the inside. Now we can move on to placing the stems. Look, I braided and prepared my stems, and I shared the recipe with you before. We start with a slightly different oval base, and we knit a different handle. I will add the recipe and the link to it in the explanation section right below. You can watch it in detail in the description of how we knit the handle by clicking there. Now look, there are threads on the ends like this. What will I do right away to sew easily? I will take my etomine needle. Look, it's an etomine needle. I will mount my handle to my bag with. Look at this handle. There is an oval shape like this. This handle will be on the outside of our bag. Look, the point where the single needles look straight will be on the outside. This upside down point will also remain on the inside. We will mount it this way. Now let's adjust the point where we will mount it and complete our bag by sewing the handle with our sewing needle. We completed it by sewing our handle onto our bag. The original bag did not have a strap inside. These types of bags are really useful and beautiful without a lining. One was suitable with an original. I hope you like it and try it too. I wish good luck to those who will do it. Don't forget to like our video, leave a comment and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye until we see you in the next video.